The world tastes of ash. It coats the tongue, powders the inside of the nose, and ghosts across the eyes in a constant grey haze. For days that have bled into one another, the Skyfire clan has walked through the corpse of their world. The great savannah, once a tapestry of golden green teeming with life, is now a charcoal canvas under a bruised, smoke-choked sky. The skeletons of acacia trees stand like blackened ribs against the horizon. There is no buzz of insect. There is only the crunch of their own feet on brittle, fire-baked earth and the dry rasp of their breathing. The great herds of longhorns and shovel-tuskers are gone, either fled or consumed. The very concept of foraging has become a bitter joke, a memory of a time before the firestorm swallowed the horizon. They are 37 now. They were more than double that before the firestorm swallowed the horizon. The old and the very young were the first to be taken. Their ghosts now part of the silence that presses in on the survivors. The remaining members of this small branch of Homo erectus are gaunt figures, their lanky frames stretched thin, their faces hollowed by hunger and a despair so profound it has burned past grief into a state of numb, forward motion. An old woman, Koya, the keeper of their oldest memories, stops. The clan holds behind her, a single weary organism. Her head lifts, her nostrils flaring to test the wind. For days the only scent has been of sudden death. But now, carried on the slow, sluggish breeze, is something else. It is sharp, wet, and deeply unfamiliar, a scent of salt that stings the back of the throat. It is not the smell of life as they know it, not the smell of beef strawberry, but it is the opposite of the dead. Dry dust that surrounds them. It is a promise of something. Nothing in their long, unwritten hominid history has prepared them for this choice, to march toward a smell they do not recognize, away from a home they can no longer inhabit. Kaya's gaze meets that of Jory C., the strongest of their hunters, his hand permanently clenched around a fire-hardened spear that has not tasted blood since the sky turned orange. He gives a slow, tired nod. There are no other options, not away from death but towards an unknown that might hold it at bay. They walk for 3 more suns. The grey dust gives way to a fine, pales, and that pulls at their feet. The vegetation, what little there is, becomes stunted, twisted, and strange. The salty tang in the air grows stronger, now accompanied by a deep, rhythmic roar that is felt in the chest as much as it is heard. It is a sound of immense power, a grinding, breathing sound that never ceases. Primal fear, the deep instinct of a species that understands its fragility, tightens in their bellies. This is the sound of a predator larger than any they have ever known. Finally, they crest a last sloping dune, and they see it. The world simply ends. Before them is not a river, not a lake, but a vast, heaving expanse of grey-blue water that moves and breathes and crashes against the shore in a fury of white foam. It stretches to the end of sight, meeting the hazy sky in a seamless line. This is the great water from the oldest stories, the place where the sky is born. They stand at the edge of their known existence, having fled a world of fire, only to find themselves on the shore of a terrifying, unknowable world of water. The ash is behind them. The hungry ocean is before them. The initial occurred less into fear, and fear gives way to the gnawing ache in their bellies. This great water is not a gift. It is a barrier, a roaring, churning wall of chaos. Jory C., driven by the hollow eyes of the children, takes 2 of his best men and wades into the surf. He holds his spear, a masterpiece of fire-hardened wood, its point sharpened on stone. It is one of their most reliable ancient tools, an extension of his own arm that has brought down deer and boar. The water pushes against his legs with surprising force, a constant, wearying shove. Shapes dart beneath the surface impossibly fast, their forms distorted by the shifting light. He thrusts at a flicker of silver, but the spear just splashes uselessly. The water steals the force from his blow. The waves crash, blinding him with spray, filling his mouth with the brine that makes him gag. He stumbles back to the shore, defeated and shivering, the clan's hope dimming with his failure. The ocean is not a hunting ground, it is a monster that will not be speared. Desperation drives them to forage along the shoreline. They find strange, hard-shelled creatures that scuttle sideways, their claws raised in defiance. A young man, Rory C., tries to crush one with a rock, only to have its pincer snap shut on his finger, drawing a shriek of pain and a gout of blood. Others find slimy, gelatinous blobs washed up on the sand. One touches it and an angry red welt immediately rises on his skin, burning like 100 stinging ants. The sea's bounty is guarded by poison, armor, and a hostility they do not understand. They are land dwellers, experts in a world that has ceased to exist. Here they are infants, clumsy and ignorant. The clan huddles by the dunes, defeated. The dead, ashen world is behind them, and this angry, violent water is before them. Starvation seems to have followed them, wearing a new face. But one does not join the huddle of despair. A young woman named Delara, her frame slight and her presence often overlooked, sits apart on a high rock, watching. She has always been a watcher. While others laughed around the fire, she studied the paths of the stars. Now she watches the great water. She sees not a single monster, but a changing one. For hours it rages, throwing itself against the shore. But then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, it begins to retreat. The thunder's roar softens to a sigh. The water pulls back, leaving the wets and gleaming, exposing rocks and crevices that were previously hidden in the churning chaos. The great beast is sleeping. As the water recedes further and further, she notices depressions in the rocky shoreline. Water remains in these hollows, perfectly still. She scrambles down from her perch, her bare feet careful on the slick, recovered stones. Peering into one of the larger tidal pools, she freezes. It is a world in miniature. Small silvery fish, the same kind Jory C could not touch, swim in lazy circles, trapped. The strange, armored crawlers move slowly along the bottom. The water is clear, the prey is confined. The tide, the very thing that was their enemy, has given them a gift. It has captured the sea's life for them, if only they are clever enough to take it. Her mind races, connecting the old world to the new. They built barriers of thorn bush to funnel animals. Here, the rock itself has made the trap, and the tide is the hunter. Elara scrambles back over the rocks, her breath coming in ragged bursts. She does not have the words to explain the complex dance of the water, the sun, and the moon. Instead, she grabs Kaya by her thin, leathery arm, her eyes wide with an urgent fire that the old woman has not seen since the herds were plentiful. She points frantically toward the exposed rocks, making scooping motions with her hands, mimicking the swimming fish, then drawing a line in the sand. A barrier, his face a mask of weary skepticism. Another false hope is a cruelty they cannot afford. But Kaya, whose wisdom is woven from a lifetime of watching patterns, sees the logic in the girl's wild gestures. She sees the ghost of an old idea in a new shape. We built walls of thorn to guide the deer, she rasps, her voice thin as dry leaves. The water builds walls of stone. The connection snaps into place in Joe Rick's mind. The risk is immense, wasting their last dregs of strength on a child's fancy. But the alternative is certain death. He looks at the gaunt faces around him, the fading light in their eyes. He gives Elara a single, sharp nod. The work is brutal. It is a desperate race against the returning tide, a force they can now see creeping back up the distance and. This is the first great act of collaborative engineering driven by their unique grasp of cause and effect, a foundational moment in the story of human evolution. Jory C and the other men heave thick stones, their muscles screaming in protest, their feet slipping on the treacherous ground. They lay the foundation of a low wall, a simple, curving crescent of rock across the mouth of a wide, shallow inlet. The women and older children, their hands already raw, scurry to find smaller stones, wedging them into the gaps. It is a frantic, focused effort, a symphony of grunts and strained breathing. This is primitive technology born not of leisure, but of imminent collapse. They are the Skyfire clan, a branch of Homo erectus, and they are not just building a wall, they are building a future out of the rubble of their past. Elara works alongside them, her small hands placing stones with a fierce precision, inviting the rocks to form a shield against the endless hunger. As the sun bleeds towards the horizon, the water is upon them, licking at the base of their crude weir. They retreat to the dunes, a line of exhausted, anxious silhouettes, and watch. The tide swells, pouring over their wall, filling the basin behind it. Doubt creeps in. The wall looks so small, so fragile against the immensity of the ocean. It vanishes completely beneath the waves. For hours they wait as darkness falls, the rhythmic crash of waves the only sound. Then, the rhythm changes. The roar recedes. Slowly, under the pale light of a slivered moon, their wall reappears. And behind it, the water remains. It is a massive, contained pool, and the moonlight catches 1,000 points of frantic, silver light. The pool is alive, writhing with trapped fish. Dazed and silence hangs over the clan before it is shattered by a single raw, triumphant shout from Jory C. It is a sound of disbelief, of relief, of victory. They surge forward, splashing into the pool, grabbing at their salvation with bare hands. That night, for the first time in weeks, the scent of cooking meat rises from their fire, mingling with the salt of the sea. The taste is strange, but it is the taste of life. As they eat, they watch the dark water, no longer an object of pure terror, but a new, powerful, and dangerous partner in the unending struggle for survival.
Careful coordination.
Here on this forgotten shore, a fundamental truth of the human story is carved into the wet sand. These are not heroes of myths. They are desperate, starving ancient humans, a fragile offshoot of Hominid, driven to the edge of the world. Yet in this moment of desperation, they did not simply endure. They observed, they reasoned, they gambled. The act of building that simple wall of stone was more than a solution to hunger. It was a declaration. It was the moment our ancestors stopped being creatures who only fled from the power of nature and began to learn how to harness its rhythms. This desperate harvest, born of ash and salt, was a quiet turning point in the epic of prehistoric life. From this first fumbling attempt would spring the hook, the net, the boat, and the audacious belief that even the great, devouring sea could be made to serve the will of the clever hands and hungry minds of mankind. Their struggle poses a question that echoes through million years ago, a choice between perishing with a burned world or finding the courage to learn the language of the unknown shore. This is the chronicle of survival, written in the bedrock of what we are. And on the other side of the world, a different clan learns that some caves are not empty.